The giants. "But if you're so nice and friendly," Sophie said, "then why did you snatch me from my bed and run away with me?"
"Because you saw me," the big friendly giant answered. "If anyone has ever seen a giant, he or she must be taken away Ipswich."
"Why?" asked Sophie.
"Well, first of all," said the BFG, "human beings is not really believing in giants, is they? Human beings is not thinking we exist."
"I do," Sophie said.
"Ah, but that is only because you has seen me," cried the BFG. "I cannot possibly allow anyone, even little girls, to be seeing me and staying at home. The first thing you would be doing, is scuttling around, yodeling the news that you are actually seeing a giant, and then there'd be a great giant hunt, a mighty giant look-see would be starting up all over the world, with the human beings all rummaging for the great giant you saw and getting wildly excited. People would be coming rushing and bushing and over me with goodness knows what, and they'd be catching me and locking me into a cage to be stared at. Then they'd be putting me into a zoo or the bunkum house with all those squiggly nipple dumplings and crocodile dillies."
Sophie knew that what the giant said was true. If any person reported actually having seen a giant haunting the streets of a town at night, there would most certainly be a terrific hullabaloo across the world.
"I will bet you," the BFG went on, "that you would have been splashing the news all over the wonky world, wouldn't you, if I hadn't wiggled your way?"
"I suppose I would," Sophie said.
"And that would never do," said the BFG.
"So what will happen to me now?" Sophie asked.
"If you do go back, you'll be telling the world," said the BFG. "Most likely on the telly bunkum box and the radio squeaker. So you just have to be staying here with me for the rest of your life."
"Oh, no," cried Sophie.
"Oh, yes," said the BFG. "But I'm warning you not ever to go whiffling about outside of this cave without I is with you, or you will be coming to an mucky end. I is showing you now who is going to eat you up, if they is ever catching even one tiny little glimpse of you."
The big friendly giant picked Sophie off up the table and carried her to the cave entrance. He rolled the huge stone to one side and said, "Peep out over there, little girl, and tell me what you is seeing." Sophie, sitting on the BFG's hand, peeped out of the cave. The sun was up now, and shining fiery hot over the great yellow wasteland with its blue rocks and dead trees.
"Is you seeing them?" the BFG asked.
Sophie, squinting through the glare of the sun, saw several tremendous tall figures moving among the rocks about 500 yards away. 3 or 4 others were sitting quite motionless on the rocks themselves.
"This is giant country," the BFG said. "Those is all giants, every one."
It was a brain-boggling sight. The giants were all naked except for a sort of short skirt around their waists, and their skins were burnt by the sun. But it was the sheer size of each one of them that boggled Sophie's brain most of all. They were simply colossal, far taller and wider than the big friendly giant upon whose hand she was now sitting. And oh, how ugly they were. Many of them had large bellies, all of them had long arms and feet. They were all too far away for their faces to be seen clearly, and perhaps that was a good thing. "What on earth are they doing?" Sophie asked.
"Nothing," said the BFG. "They's just moochling and foochling round and waiting for the night to come. Then they'll all be running off to places where people is living to find their suppers."
"You mean to Turkey?" Sophie said.
"Bone-crunching giant will be galloping into Turkey, of course," said the BFG. "But the others will be whiffling off to all sorts of flung-away places like Wellington for the booty flavour and Panama for the hatty taste. Every giant is having his own favourite hunting ground."
"Do they ever go to England?" Sophie asked.
"Often," said the BFG. "They say the English is tasting ever so wonderfully of Crod's Collop."
"I'm not sure I quite know what that means," Sophie said.
"Meanings is not important," said the BFG. "I cannot be right all the time. Quite often I is left instead of right."
"And are all those beastly giants over there really going off again tonight to eat people?" Sophie asked.
"All of them is guzzling human beings every night," the BFG answered. "All of them excepting me. That is why you'll be coming to an mucky end if any of them should ever be getting his gogglers upon you. You would be swallowed up like a piece of frumpkin pie, all in one dollop."
"But eating people is horrible," Sophie cried. "It's frightful. Why doesn't someone stop them?"
"And who, please, is going to be stopping them?" asked the BFG.
"Couldn't you?" said Sophie.
Never in a pig's whistle, cried the BFG. All of those man-eating giants is enormous and really fierce. They is all at least 2 times my wideness and double my royal highness.
Twice as high as you, cried Sophie.
Easily that, said the BFG. You is seeing them in the distance, but just wait until you get them close up. Those giants is at least 50 feet tall, with huge muscles and cockles alive-o. I's a titchy one. I's a runt. 24 feet is puddle nuts in giant country.
You mustn't feel bad about it, Sophie said. I think you're just great. Why, even your toes must be as big as sausages.
Bigger? Said the BFG, looking pleased. They is as big as bumble-hammers.
How many giants are out there? Sophie asked.
9 altogether, answered the BFG.
That means, said Sophie, that somewhere in the world every single night 9 wretched people get carried away and eaten alive.
More, said the BFG. It's all depending, you see, on how big the human beings is. Japanese beans is smaller, so a giant will need to gobble up about 6 before he's feeling full up. Others, like the Norway people and the Yankee Doodles, is ever so much bigger, and usually 2 or 3 of those makes a good tuck-in.
But do these disgusting giants go to every single country in the world? Sophie asked.
All countries except Greece is getting visited sometime or another, the BFG answered. The country which a giant visits is depending on how he's feeling. If it's very warm weather and a giant is feeling hot as a sizzle pan, he'll probably go galloping far away up Frisbee North to get himself an Eskimo or 2 to cool him down. A nice fat Eskimo to a giant is like a lovely ice cream lolly to you.
I'll take your word for it, Sophie said.
And then again, if it's frosty night and the giant is fidgeting with cold, he'll probably point his nose towards the southern England Americas and he guzzle a few chilies, warm him up.
How perfectly horrible, Sophie said.
Nothing hots a cold giant up like a hot chili bean, the BFG said.
And if you were to put me down on the ground and I was to walk out among them now, Sophie said, would they really eat me up?
Like a whiff's fiddle, cried the BFG. And what is more, you were so small they wouldn't even have to chew you. The first one to be seeing you would pick you up in his fingers and down you go like a drop of drain water.
Let's go back inside, Sophie said. I hate even watching them.